The Law of One, Session 65, August 8, 1981.
Ra, I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. We communicate now.
Questioner, could you first please give us an indication of the instrument's condition and the level of vital and physical energies?
Ra, I am Ra. This instrument's vital energies are as previously stated. The physical energies are greatly distorted towards weakness at this space/time due to the distortion complexes symptomatic of that which you call the arthritic condition. The level of psychic attack is constant but is being dealt with by this instrument in such a way as to eliminate serious difficulties due to its fidelity and that of the support group.
Questioner, I may be recovering a little ground already covered in previous questioning today, but I am trying to get a clearer picture of some things that I don't understand and possibly develop a plan of my own for activity in the future. I have the impression that in the near future the seeking will increase by many who now are incarnate in the physical on this planet. Their seeking will increase because they will become more aware of the creation as it is opposed, I might say, to the creation of man. Their orientation and their thinking will, by catalyst of a unique nature, be reoriented to thinking of the more basic concepts, shall I say. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. The generalities of expression can never be completely correct. However, we may note that when faced with a hole in the curtain, an entity's eyes may well peer for the first time through the window beyond. This tendency is probable given the possibility/probability vortices active within your space/time and time/space continua at this nexus.
Questioner, I have assumed that the reason that so many wanderers and those harvested third-density entities who have been transferred here find it a privilege and an exceptionally beneficial time to be incarnate upon this planet is that the effect that I just spoke of gives them the opportunity to be more fully of service because of the increased seeking. Is this, in general, correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This is the intention which wanderers had prior to incarnation. There are many wanderers whose dysfunction with regard to the planetary ways of your peoples have caused, to some extent, a condition of being caught up in a configuration of mind complex activity which, to the corresponding extent, may prohibit the intended service.
Questioner, I noticed that you are speaking more slowly than usual. Is there a reason for this?
Ra, I am Ra. This instrument is somewhat weak and although strong in vital energy and well able to function at this time is somewhat more fragile than the usual condition we find. We may note a continuing bearing of the physical distortion called pain which has a weakening effect upon physical energy. In order to use the considerable store of available energy without harming the instrument we are attempting to channel even more narrow band than is our wont.
Questioner, thank you. Now, have I properly analyzed the condition that creates the possibility of greater service as follows? 1. Seniority by vibration of incarnation has greatly polarized those upon the surface now, and the influx of wanderers has greatly increased the mental configuration, I might say, toward things of a more spiritual nature. This, I would assume, would be one of the factors creating a better atmosphere for service. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This is correct.
Questioner, with the coming changes as we progress into fourth density, I'm speaking of changes not only in the physical third density planet due to the heating effect but also the changes that are heralding fourth density vibrations such as the ability of people to perform what we term paranormal activities. I'm assuming that both of these are also and will act as catalyst to create a greater seeking. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This is partially correct. The paranormal events occurring are not designed to increase seeking but are manifestations of those whose vibratory configuration enables these entities to contact the gateway to intelligent infinity. These entities capable of paranormal service may determine to be of such service on a conscious level. This, however, is a function of the entity and its free will and not the paranormal ability. The correct portion of your statements is the greater opportunity for service due to the many changes which will offer many challenges, difficulties, and seeming distresses within your illusion to many who then will seek to understand, if we may use this misnomer, the reason for the malfunctioning of the physical rhythms of their planet. Moreover, there exist probability/possibility vortices which spiral towards your bellicose actions. Many of these vortices are not of the nuclear war but of the less annihilatory but more lengthy so-called conventional war. This situation, if formed in your illusion, would offer many opportunities for seeking and for service.
Questioner: how would conventional warfare offer the opportunities for seeking and service?
Ra, I am Ra. The possibility/probabilities exist for situations in which great portions of your continent and the globe in general might be involved in the type of warfare which you might liken to guerrilla warfare. The ideal of freedom from the so-called invading force of either the controlled fascism or the equally controlled social common ownership of all things would stimulate great quantities of contemplation upon the great polarization implicit in the contrast between freedom and control. In this scenario which is being considered at this time/space nexus, the idea of obliterating valuable sites and personnel would not be considered an useful one. Other weapons would be used which do not destroy as your nuclear arms would. In this ongoing struggle the light of freedom would burn within the mind/body/spirit complexes capable of such polarization. Lacking the opportunity for overt expression of the love of freedom, the seeking for inner knowledge would take root aided by those of the brothers and sisters of sorrow which remember their calling upon this sphere.
Questioner: are you saying then that this possible condition of war would be much more greatly spread across the surface of the globe than anything we have experienced in the past and therefore touch a larger percentage of the population in this form of catalyst?
Ra, I am Ra. This is correct. There are those now experimenting with one of the major weapons of this scenario, that is the so-called psychotronic group of devices which are being experimentally used to cause such alterations in wind and weather as will result in eventual famine. If this program is not countered and proves experimentally satisfactory, the methods in this scenario would be made public. There would then be what those whom you call Russians hope to be a bloodless invasion of their personnel in this and every land deemed valuable. However, the peoples of your culture have little propensity for bloodless surrender.
Questioner: we would seem to have dual catalysts operating, and the question is which one is going to act first. The prophecies, I will call them, made by Edgar Cayce indicated many earth changes, and I am wondering about the mechanics of describing what we call the future. Ra, it has been stated, is not a part of time, and yet we concern ourselves with probability/possibility vortices. It is very difficult for me to understand how the mechanism of prophecy operates. What is the value of a prophecy such as Cayce made with respect to earth changes with respect to all of these scenarios?
Ra, I am Ra. Consider the shopper entering the store to purchase food with which to furnish the table for the time period you call a week. Some stores have some items, others a variant set of offerings. We speak of these possibility/probability vortices when asked with the understanding that such are as a can, jar, or portion of goods in your store. It is unknown to us as we scan your time/space whether your peoples will shop hither or yon. We can only name some of the items available for the choosing. The, shall we say, record which the one you call Edgar read from is useful in that same manner. There is less knowledge in this material of other possibility/probability vortices and more attention paid to the strongest vortex. We see the same vortex but also see many others. Edgar's material could be likened unto 100 boxes of your cold cereal, another vortex likened unto 3, or 6, or 50 of another product which is eaten by your peoples for breakfast. That you will breakfast is close to certain. The menu is your own choosing. The value of prophecy must be realized to be only that of expressing possibilities. Moreover, it must be, in our humble opinion, carefully taken into consideration that any time/space viewing, whether by one of your time/space or by one such as we who view the time/space from a dimension, shall we say, exterior to it, will have a quite difficult time expressing time measurement values. Thus prophecy given in specific terms is more interesting for the content or type of possibility predicted than for the space/time nexus of its supposed occurrence.
Questioner: so we have the distinct possibility of two different types of catalyst creating an atmosphere of seeking that is greater than that which we experience at present. There will be much confusion, especially in the scenario of Earth changes, simply because there have been many predictions of these changes by many groups giving various and sundry reasons for the changes. Can you comment on the effectiveness of this type of catalyst and the rather wide pre-knowledge of the coming changes, but also the rather wide variation in, shall I say, explanation for these changes?
Ra, I am Ra. Given the amount of strength of the possibility/probability vortex which posits the expression by the planet itself of the difficult birthing of the planetary self into fourth density, it would be greatly surprising were not many which have some access to space/time able to perceive this vortex. The amount of this cold cereal in the grocery, to use our previous analogy, is disproportionately large. Each which prophesies does so from an unique level, position, or vibratory configuration. Thus biases and distortions will accompany much prophecy.
Questioner: well, this entire scenario over the next, shall I say, 20 years seems to be aimed at producing an increase in seeking and an increase in the awareness of the natural creation, but also a terrific amount of confusion. Was it the pre-incarnative objective of many of the wanderers to attempt to reduce this confusion?
Ra, I am Ra. It was the aim of wanderers to serve the entities of this planet in whatever way was requested, and it was also the aim of wanderers that their vibratory patterns might lighten the planetary vibration as a whole, thus ameliorating the effects of planetary disharmony and palliating any results of this disharmony. Specific intentions such as aiding in a situation not yet manifest are not the aim of wanderers. Light and love go where they are sought and needed, and their direction is not planned aforetimes.
Questioner: then each of the wanderers here acts as a function of the biases he has developed in any way he sees fit to communicate or simply be in his polarity to aid the total consciousness of the planet. Is there any, shall I say, more physical way that he aids? In what I mean is, do the vibrations somehow add, just as electrical polarity or charging a battery or something? Does that also aid the planet, just the physical presence of the wanderers?
Ra, I am Ra. This is correct, and the mechanism is precisely as you state. We intended this meaning in the second portion of our previous answer. You may, at this time, note that as with any entities, each wanderer has its unique abilities, biases, and specialties, so that from each portion of each density represented among the wanderers comes an array of pre-incarnative talents which then may be expressed upon this plane which you now experience, so that each wanderer, in offering itself before incarnation, has some special service to offer in addition to the doubling effect of planetary love and light and the basic function of serving as beacon or shepherd. Thus there are those of fifth density whose abilities to express wisdom are great. There are fourth and sixth density wanderers whose ability to serve as, shall we say, passive radiators or broadcasters of love and love/light are immense. There are many others whose talents brought into this density are quite varied. Thus wanderers have three basic functions once the forgetting is penetrated, the first two being basic, the tertiary one being unique to that particular mind/body/spirit complex. We may note at this point while you ponder the possibility/probability vortices that although you have many items which cause distress and thus offer seeking and service opportunities, there is always one container in that store of peace, love, light, and joy. This vortex may be very small, but to turn one's back upon it is to forget the infinite possibilities of the present moment. Could your planet polarize towards harmony in one fine, strong moment of inspiration? Yes, my friends. It is not probable, but it is ever possible.
Questioner: how common in the universe is a mixed harvest for a planet of both positively and negatively oriented mind/body/spirit complexes?
Ra, I am Ra. Among planetary harvests which yield an harvest of mind/body/spirit complexes, approximately 10% are negative, approximately 60% are positive, and approximately 30% are mixed, with nearly all harvest being positive. In the event of mixed harvest, it is almost unknown for the majority of the harvest to be negative. When a planet moves strongly towards the negative, there is almost no opportunity for harvestable positive polarization.
Questioner: can you tell me why there is almost no opportunity in that case?
Ra, the ability to polarize positively requires a certain degree of self-determination.
Questioner: then as these final days of the cycle transpire, if the harvest were to occur now, today, it would have a certain number harvested positively and negatively and a certain number of repeaters. I am going to assume that because of the catalyst which will be experienced between now and the actual harvesting time, these numbers of harvestable entities will increase. Generally speaking, not particularly with respect to this planet but with respect to general experience, shall we say, in harvesting, how big an increase in harvestable entities can you logically assume will occur because of the catalyst that occurs in the final period such as this one? Or am I making a mistake in assuming that other planets have added catalyst at the end of a harvesting period when they have a mixed harvest?
Ra, I am Ra. In the event of mixed harvest, there is nearly always disharmony and, therefore, added catalyst in the form of your so-called earth changes. In this assumption you are correct. It is the Confederation's desire to serve those who may indeed seek more intensely because of this added catalyst. We do not choose to attempt to project the success of added numbers to the harvest, for this would not be appropriate. We are servants. If we are called, we shall serve with all our strength. To count the numbers is without virtue.
Questioner: now the added catalyst at the end of the cycle is a function specifically of the orientation of the consciousness that inhabits the planet. The consciousness has provided the catalyst for itself in orienting its thinking in the way it has oriented it, thus acting upon itself the same as catalyst of bodily pain and disease act upon the single mind/body/spirit complex. I made this analogy once before but reiterate it at this time to clarify my own thinking in seeing the planetary entity as somewhat of a single entity made up of billions of mind/body/spirit complexes. Is my viewpoint correct?
Ra, I am Ra. You are quite correct.
Questioner: then we deal with an entity that has not yet formed a social memory but is yet an entity, just as one of us can be called a single entity. Can we continue this observation of the, shall I say, conglomerate entity through the galactic entity, or shall I say, small planetary system type of, let me try to phrase it this way. Could I look at a single sun in its planetary system as an entity and then look at a major galaxy with its billions of stars as an entity? Can I continue this extrapolation in this way?
Ra, I am Ra. You can, but not within the framework of third density space/time. Let us attempt to speak upon this interesting subject. In your space/time, you and your peoples are the parents of that which is in the womb. The earth, as you call it, is ready to be born, and the delivery is not going smoothly. When this entity has become born, it will be instinct with the social memory complex of its parents, which have become fourth density positive. In this density there is a broader view. You may begin to see your relationship to the logos or sun with which you are most intimately associated. This is not the relationship of parent to child, but of creator, that is logos, to creator, that is the mind/body/spirit complex, as logos. When this realization occurs, you may then widen the field of eyeshot, if you will, infinitely recognizing parts of the logos throughout the one infinite creation and feeling, with the roots of mind informing the intuition, the parents aiding their planets in evolution in reaches vast and unknown in the creation, for this process occurs many times in the evolution of the creation as a whole.
Questioner, the wanderer goes through the forgetting process. You mentioned that those who have both third and fourth density bodies activated now do not have the forgetting that the wanderer has. I was just wondering if, say, a sixth density wanderer were here with a third density body activated, would he have gone through a forgetting that was in sections, shall I say, with a forgetting of fourth, fifth, and sixth densities, and if he were to have his fourth density body activated, he would have a partial additional memory and then another partial if his fifth were activated, and then the full memory if he had the sixth activated? Does this make any sense?
Ra, I am Ra. No.
Questioner, chuckles, thank you. The forgetting process was puzzling me because you said that the fourth density activated people who were here who had been harvestable did not have the same forgetting problem. Could you tell me why the wanderer loses his memory?
Ra, I am Ra. The reason is twofold. First, the genetic properties of the connection between the mind/body/spirit complex and the cellular structure of the body is different for third density than for third/fourth density. Secondly, the free will of third density entities needs be preserved. Thus wanderers volunteer for third density genetic or DNA connections to the mind/body/spirit complex. The forgetting process can be penetrated to the extent of the wanderer remembering what it is and why it is upon the planetary sphere. However, it would be an infringement if wanderers penetrated the forgetting so far as to activate the more dense bodies and thus be able to live, shall we say, in a godlike manner. This would not be proper for those who have chosen to serve. The new fourth density entities which are becoming able to demonstrate various newer abilities are doing so as a result of the present experience, not as a result of memory. There are always a few exceptions, and we ask your forgiveness for constant barrages of overgeneralization.
Questioner, I don't know if this question is related to what I am trying to get at or not, but I'll ask it and see. You mentioned in speaking of the pyramids that the resonating chamber was used so that the adept could meet the self. Would you explain what you meant by that?
Ra, I am Ra. One meets the self in the center or deeps of the being. The so-called resonating chamber may be likened unto the symbology of the burial and resurrection of the body, wherein the entity dies to self and through this confrontation of apparent loss and realization of essential gain, is transmuted into a new and risen being.
Questioner, could I make the analogy of in this apparent death losing the desires that are the illusory, common desires of third density and gaining the desires of total service to others?
Ra, I am Ra. You are perceptive. This was the purpose and intent of this chamber, as well as forming a necessary portion of the king's chamber position's effectiveness.
Questioner, can you tell me what this chamber did to the entity to create this awareness in him?
Ra, I am Ra. This chamber worked upon the mind and the body. The mind was affected by sensory deprivation and the archetypical reactions to being buried alive with no possibility of extricating the self. The body was affected both by the mind configuration and by the electrical and piezoelectrical properties of the materials which were used in the construction of the resonating chamber. This will be the last full query of this working. May we ask if there are any brief queries at this time?
Questioner, is there anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact?
Ra, I am Ra. We feel that the instrument is well supported and that all is well. We caution each regarding this instrument's distortions towards pain, for it dislikes sharing these expressions, but as support group this instrument subconsciously accepts each entity's aid. All is in alignment. You are conscientious. We thank you for this. I am Ra. I leave you, my friends, rejoicing in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, glorying in the power and in the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai.